hi, Mama. Hi, Peanut. I wanted to do an intro and say hi to everybody and introduce you. So this is my mom, Vicky. Hi. And we're gonna have a conversation about my sexuality and the way I present and kind of her perspective on it and her thoughts and where she started off thinking about it and where she is now and any other things like that. Thank you, first of all, for agreeing to do it. Because it means a lot. You're welcome. Came up with some questions. Here we go. What were your initial thoughts when I first came out to you?
Well, when she came out to me, she did it in writing. She handed me a letter letting me know that she had been thinking about this for a long time. And as I was reading it, I just remember feeling incredibly sad. And for a lot of reasons. I was sad because, one, I didn't see it coming. I didn't have any inklings that might be the case. Two, I know that it's not widely accepted. It's more so than it used to be, but it's not as widely accepted. And no one wants their kid to go through a hard life. And then, selfishly, it was about me and what I wanted for you, what I thought would happen for you in your life, and what our relationship would be like. I honestly didn't know what that all meant going forward, other than I was scared and I was sad. It felt like a big loss. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah. I was unsure on my end of like where we were at and what that meant. So I think we were similar in that, like, how do we move forward?
Yeah.
So
it was scary.
Yeah.
It was scary for me, I know. I can only imagine what it was like for you.
How did you work through it or process it?
I didn't really know what to do. It felt like a grieving process. I felt like I was really getting depressed over it, spending a lot of hours not sleeping over it. A lot of things crossed my mind. Were you going to be okay? Was it something I did? Was it my parenting, my parenting style? Was it, because honestly, I hadn't given it much thought. I mean, I didn't care if people were gay, but it wasn't my daughter or my son. It was somebody else. So I didn't really think about it. And so I found a counselor that I saw years ago and made an appointment and started going through just some therapy to work through what I was thinking and what I was feeling. And the one best statement that he said to me is, "So what do you think you're losing?" And I gave that a lot of thought, and I came up with a lot of what I thought I was losing. And then he asked me an even better question, what will you be gaining? And when you start thinking about it that way, because he said, she can still get married, and you will gain another daughter. Different perspective. I hadn't even thought about that. From the religious perspective, I went and talked to both pastors, Paul and Susan, and both were saying it may be hard, but God loves her. God will always love her. And your fears and your thoughts about this, they're really unfounded in the faith that I'm in, and that gave me a lot more comfort. So it wasn't an easy journey. It wasn't a short journey.
Right.
It was not a couple of conversations and we're good to go. It was time.
Yeah. I'm glad you talked to people about it. Have you faced any hurdles with like friends, family, or the church that like initially when you were like talking about it, or now? Are there any like hurdles with any of those groups of people?
Yeah, I mean, there are people who will make a judgment about me that I did something wrong. But that was easier for me to get over, because that assumes that then there's something wrong with you. And there's nothing wrong with you.
What was your reaction when I cut my hair short?
I was very sad. I know it sounds shallow of me, but this is my girl. I have a house of guys, and this is my girl. And if you would have seen her with this gorgeous curly blonde hair that she always tried to straighten when it started going curly, and then just let it be curly, and it's beautiful. It's how I knew you. It was hard. I mean, and I know any of you kind of watching are probably thinking, boy, how shallow is she? Maybe a lot, I don't know. Because this is who I knew. Or maybe it was symbolic of the transition that you were making, and maybe that finalized it. Maybe there was no ignoring it. I don't know. I mean, I honestly, bless you. I honestly don't, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why that hit me so hard. I think it was a lot of things, but initially it was just because you have absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, long hair that anybody would die for, and then to see it all gone, it was like, oh boy.
Just preferring more masculine clothing and like preferring to shop in the men's department because they have the clothes that I actually like to see on myself. Like, how has that been? And like preferring bow ties and wearing like regular ties if I have to dress up for something formal. What has that been like?
Okay, I'm being totally honest here because we've never talked about this part of it.
Yeah.
Really. I would prefer to see you, even with short hair and everything, I would prefer to see you, not dresses, not foofy. You never were foofy. I'm not foofy, but I would prefer to see you in, you know, a nice pair of khakis and a button-down shirt, but that's got the female cut to it and that sort of thing. And I think there are some things that kind of cross-gender anyway in women's clothing. And the bow ties, do I prefer them? No, I'm getting used to them because she can rock the bow tie. Yeah, I think that part is really, it's difficult. I think the first time we went shopping, and the stares and the looks made me want to support you even more, because in the end, who really cares? It's only clothes.
I think that's a lot of kind of the kickback that I get just being out in the world. Like, why do you have to dress like that? Like, we already know that you're gay. Like, come on. And for me, it's I think if I had been straight, I probably still would have eventually ended up presenting like this. Does that make sense? Like, my presentation and my orientation, my sexual orientation, even though stereotypically they seem to align somewhat, to me they're not the same, if that makes sense. Like, sexuality and expression are different things, even though in my case I'm a walking stereotype and people can point to be like, ha, gay. But like, I don't know. I know it's confusing to not just you, but like there's so many people out there are like, what? Yeah,
but yeah, and it doesn't make sense to me because they seem to go hand in hand. So yeah, I don't understand. I do think it goes hand in hand. That's
gotcha.
Because I just don't. But okay.
Okay. Do you have any advice for parents that like you wish a parent had told you?
I think that it's really important for parents to just take a look at their child and say, do you love this child? Do you care about them? Do you want them to be happy? And does dressing this way change the person that you raised from that little peanut to the person that they are now? I think parents should get the help that they need if they're struggling. Find someone that supports you, find, you know, a parish if you're a Christian that understands it and supports you. See a counselor, find a support group, do whatever it is that you need to do so that you can keep that relationship with your child.
And if you were to say something to somebody out there like me who's just kind of finding themselves, or maybe they've found themselves for a while but they don't have supportive parents, what would you tell them?
I think the main thing, kind of like with the parents, you have to find people that support you. You can't hide who you are, who God created you to be. Or if you don't believe in God, just how you were created. If you're depressed about it, find counseling. You can find free counseling through your communities, find support groups. I think the main thing is don't start thinking that you are less than anyone else because of who you are. You're worth loving and worth living a good happy life. I get choked up because I just know that there are people that don't have support or feel less than their counterparts because of who they are, and they shouldn't. You should never. You know, you should always just be how you are built and made to be, and then be the best version of that as you can. And hopefully your parents will come along for the ride and be loving and supportive. And if they're not, give them a little while to adjust, because they want to love you in this new person, but they have to grieve the loss of the other person that they thought they knew. They just need to get their legs under them again.
Thank you, Mama.
I love you, Peanut.
I love you too, Mama. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye. We hope it helped.
Yeah.